Superman, they're all coming right to you. Venom, Bud, Archie too, they will all be here for you on Comics TV. Comics TV. Fantasy and enemy, what's it gonna be now? Alternative and mainstream too, here every week for you on Comics TV. Comics TV.
Hi and welcome to the 1994 Comics TV Fan Awards. I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Steve Przybyla, and we'll be right back after this.
On Friday.
Welcome back to the 1994 Comics TV Fan Awards.
These awards were based on ballots taken from fans at several cons and comic stores. They represent fans that range in age from 8 years old to 40 years old.
The categories include Best Writer, Best Artist, Best Titles, and so on. The winners may surprise you, and then again, they might not.
There were many nominees from many different companies, with many of the independent publishers making an appearance, showing that independent titles are gaining in popularity.
But with the industry suddenly changing, this summer will prove to be a very important one for the comic book industry.
That's right. So before we start our ceremony, let's take a quick commercial break and return for the 1994 Comics TV Fan Awards.
Honey, it's Mom. Please let me in. I'm worried.
Learn to see the signs of mental illness. 2 out of 3 people who get help get better. For a free booklet, call the National Mental Health Association.
Remember how good it felt the first time you gave 5? Well, now there's another way to give 5. Set a goal to give more. 5 hours a week and 5% of your income to the causes you care about. It'll make you feel like a winner every day of your life. So give more. Give 5. Call 1-800-55-GIVE-5.
Welcome back to the 1994 Comics TV Fan Awards.
We'd like to start the show with our first category, which is the best costume.
That's right, it's a wimpy category, and the votes were limited to only a few really good costumes, but we do have a decisive winner.
There are some cool costumes throughout the comic book industry. Just go to a convention sometime and see some of them walking around.
In the best costume category we have
Angela by Todd McFarlane, published by Image Comics.
Batman, published by DC Comics.
Spawn by Todd McFarlane, published by Image Comics.
And Spider-Man, published by Marvel Comics.
And the winner is...
Best Costume winner, Spawn by Todd McFarlane and Image Comics.
Congratulations.
And accepting the award is me. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Our next category is also a somewhat goofy category, but there were some competition here.
Number 1 issues play a big part in the collectability of comics. Several years back, speculators flooded the market, buying tens and hundreds of any number 1 issue they could find.
Many turned out to be worthless, but then take a look at what some of the number 1s are going for now.
Superman number 1, $60,000.
Batman number 1, $25,000.
And even more recently, Bone number 1, $175.
And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles going for $375. And all those prices were on the low end.
Yep. The nominees for Best number 1 of 1994 are
Gen 13 by Jim Lee, published by Image Comics.
Spawn, by Todd McFarlane, published by Image Comics.
She by William Tukey, published by Crusade Comics.
And X-Men Alpha, published by Marvel Comics. And the winner is...
Gen 13 by Jim Lee and Image Comics. Congratulations.
Accepting the award
Is me!
Thank you. Okay, our next category is
Best Humor Book. Many years ago, the humor comic book was usually a Bugs Bunny or even Dennis the Menace.
But recently, humor comics have made a resurgence. With books based on animated television series like Ren and Stimpy and The Simpsons, humor comics are here to stay.
The nominees are
Beavis and Butthead, published by Marvel Comics.
Boof, published by Image Comics.
And lastly, Bone, published by Jeff Smith and Cartoon Books and now Image Comics.
And the winner is...
We should get this. Okay, 1994 awards. No, not Boof. The best humor book is Bone by Jeff Smith and Cartoon Books / Image Comics.
Congratulations.
All right, Jeff Smith, a newcomer, and he's got himself a big award here.
Yes, he does. The next category we clumped together, a bunch of different books. Instead of giving their own categories, this category is the best reprint graphic novel or collection.
The graphic novel is generally a full-length comic book with usually one complete story. A collection or reprint can be a collection of past issues into one book or a reprinting of a previous collection.
The nominees in this category are
Marvels, published by Marvel Comics.
Spider-Man, published by Marvel Comics.
And lastly, Superman Doomsday, published by DC Comics. And the winner is...
Marvels from Marvel Comics.
All right.
Congratulations. I'll accept this category on this one.
Very good. That was a very
Okay.
good title.
Good choice. Good.
Burger, fries.
Value gun. There's never been a better time to buy.
Nope, no tea.
Buy more equal units.
You might not want to be involved in the war on drugs, but make no mistake, if you're a parent, you've been drafted.
During the Gulf War, the National Guard and Reserve were a vital part of our military effort. All because of their training in management, operational skills, and teamwork. The same kind of training that makes them better when they come back to work for you. When your employees need time off to serve, be a hero and give them the freedom to protect ours.
Hi, welcome back from that little break. Our next category at the 1994 COMX TV Fan Awards begins what everyone has waited for, the biggest and the best.
First we have Best Writer for either a mainstream or an independent title.
The comic book writer is generally the person with the story vision, the person who can put down in words what will make or break a good story.
Usually to be successful, you cannot have a good comic without a good storyline.
That's true.
Our nominees include
Neil Gaiman, best known for his work on Sandman and more recently for developing ideas for Techno Comics.
Stan Lee, the father of all comics, best known for his creation of the characters of the Marvel Universe.
Frank Miller, whose recreation of Batman, Daredevil, and his own Sin City are industry tops.
And Jeff Smith, whose small black and white comic book Bone has taken the comic book world by storm. He recently signed with Image Comics to have them take over publishing and distribution rights and the duties to take it off his shoulders.
And the winner in this category is Best Writer, Independent or Mainstream, Jeff Smith. Unbelievable. Jeff Smith, 2 awards already. Jeff Smith now with Image Comics. Image. You
Tell you what, Jeff Smith, he had some tough competition there, but he
Yes,
beat
he
out
did.
Frank Miller and Stan Lee. I'm
Jeff
telling you,
Smith.
congratulations.
The fans have chosen him.
Yeah. Next, today we have the partner to the best writer, the best artist, mainstream or independent category.
The comic book artist is the person who takes the writer's vision and makes it come alive.
There are many artistic styles as there are artists. Many artists become stars and demand large pay for their work.
But there are many that do it just because they love comics.
The nominees in this category are
Jim Lee, one of the founders of Image Comics. Lee has produced some of the top comics of the 90s, including Wildcats and Gen 13.
Todd McFarlane, another Image founder. McFarlane rocketed to stardom while working on Spider-Man for Marvel Comics in the 80s, and now he's slowly building an empire of titles, including Dark Comics Spawn.
Lastly is once again Jeff Smith. I think this is his third nomination.
Third nomination.
Whose bald-headed bone characters have seemed to come from nowhere and capture the hearts of millions. And the winner is...
Drum roll, please. Todd McFarlane.
Oh, Todd.
Congratulations, Todd.
Congratulations, Todd. What a fine, fine award.
Absolutely.
Our next category is Best Cover Art. Comic book covers are what generally catches the eye of potential buyers.
Many artists specialize in covers and make a living just doing that. Many times the cover does not represent the inside contents, which some consider a ripoff.
The nominees for Best Cover Art are
Gen 13, published by Image Comics.
Spawn, published by Image Comics.
And X-Men Alpha, published by Marvel Comics.
And the winner is, for Best Cover Art, Spawn by Todd McFarlane and Image Comics. 2 in a row for Todd.
2 in a row for Todd. Hey, way to go, Todd.
All right, Image is taking over our awards here, the 1994 COMX-TV Fan Awards.
Yep.
The fans have chosen.
Smith.
Yes. Who is now a member of Image. They have taken over.
And we'll be right back after this.
On Friday.
Barriers. You break through them. You are immortal. You die alone. In the age of dis-ease, passion is still possible. Be caring, be careful.
Our next category today is Best Miniseries of 1994. There were many miniseries put out by almost every company in the whole line in 1994.
A miniseries is usually a short series consisting of 3 or 4 issues in length. Sometimes it is used like a TV pilot movie to see if the public would buy it on a regular basis.
Other times, they are just stories that wouldn't fit into a standard 1 or 2 issues. The nominees in this category are
Gambit by Howard Matchey and Lee Weens, published by Marvel Comics.
Gen 13 by Jim Lee, J. Scott Campbell, and Brandon Choi, published by Image Comics.
And Sin City, written and drawn by Frank Miller, published by Dark Horse Comics. And the winner is
Gen 13 by Jim Lee and Image Comics. All right. Way to go,
Image
Jim.
Comics. That's 3 or 4 in a row. They are hot today.
Yep, we did an interview with Jim, and he should be happy to hear from us very soon.
And we are hot too today in these hot lights and these hot suits.
Very, very.
Okay, we're down to our final 2 categories. The creme de la creme, the best of the best, the epitome of the comic book industry.
This is what every artist, writer, inker, colorist, letterer, and publisher hopes to garner come at the year's end. The best book for 1994.
Our first category is Best Independent Title. Independent comics have come a long way from the underground comics of the early 1970s.
Now there are hundreds of publishers, all varying from dollar by producing every from porno to sci-fi to comedy.
The 4 books that made it to the finals are all excellent books. The nominees are
Bone by Jeff Smith, published by Cartoon Books and now Image Comics. What more can be said about Smith and Bone?
Cerebus by Dave Sim and Gerhard, published by Sim's Aardvark Press. A talking aardvark and a very strange comic with a very dedicated following.
She by William Tukey, published by his Crusade Comics. A surprise hit in 1994 as Japanese comics and female warriors became very, very popular.
Lastly, but not lastly, Spawn by Todd McFarlane, published by Image Comics, one of the top-selling comics of the 90s. Spawn and Image are actually considered mainstream by many, but they made our independent list.
And the winner is...
Best Independent Comic, Boom by Jeff Smith,
Wow.
Cartoon Books, and Image Comics.
That's three.
That's three for Jeff Smith. A relatively newcomer.
Rolling along.
Who's hot? Image Comics is hotter. And our last category is for the biggest of the big boys, best mainstream title. This is a battle between Marvel Comics and DC Comics.
Yes, the best titles battle it out to see who would be the best, as chosen by fans of Comics TV.
Although there are about 5 or 6 large comic publishers, DC and Marvel are the largest.
The nominees in this category are
Sandman, written by Neil Gaiman and published by DC Comics.
Spawn by Todd McFarlane, published by Image Comics.
Spider-Man, published by Marvel Comics.
Starman, published by Marvel Comics.
And last but not least, The Uncanny X-Men, published by Marvel Comics.
And the winner of the best mainstream comic book of 1994 is The Uncanny X-Men from Marvel Comics.
All right.
All right. Finally, someone different won it. Beautiful.
That is our final category there.
Yep.
The fans chose them. The fans, this is what you picked. This is who won all of the big awards.
These were the best books that everybody felt for 1994. Not picked by us,
Nope.
but by you, the readers.
That's right, we had no input in this. There were quite a few surprises this year. Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, and Jeff Smith, now all members of Image, took 8 of our 10 awards. It's quite an accomplishment for a 3 or 4 year old company.
We hope you enjoyed the 1994 Comics TV Fan Awards, brought to you by Queen City Bookstore, Hair of the Dog Racing, and Able Communications. Thanks for your help.
Tune in next week when we will return to our regular weekly Comics TV review show. I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Steve Przybyla. And next time you visit your comic store, tell them you've seen it on Comics TV. See you next week.
Spider-Man, Superman, they're all coming right to you. Venom, Bud, Archie too, they will all be here for you on Comics TV. Comics TV. Fantasy and enemy, what's it gonna be now? Alternative and mainstream too, here every week for you on Comics TV. Comics TV.
How did you get your start in comics?
I was working at an insurance company, and I got a phone call from an editor at a newspaper who thought I could draw. And he said, there's this guy down here trying to sell us his art, and he draws just like you. And that was Steve Rude. Now, obviously, the editor didn't know anything about art, but so I met Steve, and we started working together, and on the basis of his art, we got Nexus published by Capitol.
Oh. What type of comic-related training did you have?
Well, I'd been a child, of course, and I'd read a lot of comics, and I lived in my head and imagined a great deal. I don't really think that when it comes to writing that there's such a thing as training. I mean, you can't teach how to write. You can give exercises to help somebody give form to their stories, but I really kind of worked it up on my own. What happened was I wanted to be an artist, and I started to draw, and I drew like crazy for 5 years. I got the Loomis books and the Hogarth books, and because I wanted to do comics instead of just sketching and learning my ABCs, I drew my own comics, which were terribly written, or no, they were brilliantly written, excuse me, but terribly drawn. And I suppose I kind of trained myself.
Who are your influences?
I absorb pop culture like a sponge, but there's only two influences that I acknowledge. Karl Barks and Philip Jose Farmer.
Okay. What projects are you currently working on right now?
I'm working on 2 Nexus series for Dark Horse. One is debuting in February. Nexus crosses over into comics' greatest world and goes after the man from the Vortex, who it turns out is a mass murderer. In March, the new series that Steve Rude and I have been working on for over a year will debut. We have 3 issues in the can. I will be writing King Tiger for Dark Horse, and I have a book coming out from Marvel in the spring called Blockbuster, which is part of their Marvel Select series.
What do you think about the current state of industry? Is it better or worse now compared to 10 years ago?
You know, we're going through this roller coaster ride right now, and we just kind of hit bottom. As far as everything is better in the sense that there's always social progress, and for this it means I get a better break as a creator. But right now there's a lot of talented people out there looking for work just because the market is shrank and people are not buying the books they used to. We're in a serious situation right now, but I'm sure we'll get out of it.
Can someone earn a decent living in the comic book industry?
Yes. In fact, the big change that I've noticed in the past 10 years is that comics have grown up to join the other entertainment milieus like film and publishing, and you can tell this that hardly a week goes by where you don't hear comics-related news reported on CNN or in USA Today. They're just accepted as another form of publishing now.